I'd like to talk about Valve and Bethesda charging for mods since this is a really hot topic for discussion. As some of you may already know, I was a modder. I made WarCraft III custom maps in the last decade, and before that I made StarCraft Brood War maps, and I also played around with a map editor for Quake, Quake 2, and Half-Life. I think this is a serious enough issue that I really should put in my 2 cents. I'll say this right off the bat. I think paid mods are a good idea, but they have to be implemented properly. Obviously, Valve failed horribly in this for a number of reasons, but it's certainly not simply because you're paying for mods. Let's go down the list. Number 1. Valve implemented paid mods on Skyrim. Skyrim came out over 3 years ago. It's already created a healthy modding scene, and you can download any mod you want free of charge. If you just tack on paid mods to any game, you just undermine the whole ecosystem. You'll have people stealing other people's mods to sell on the market, and you'll just cause a whole bunch of problems that turn people off from modding the game. It's invasive, and it's obviously going to do more harm than good. Number 2. You still have to buy Skyrim up front. I think if you're going to implement paid mods properly, you have to use the right business model. If I'm paying $15 for a game, modding better be free. If they seriously wanted to introduce paid mods to Skyrim, they have to turn Skyrim into a free-to-play game, go from generating revenue through selling copies to generating revenue from an online marketplace. Considering it's a single-player game, that's never going to happen. Number 3. Valve and Bethesda take a 75% cut from the sale of the mods. That's the real bullshit here. If someone else gets 75% from the work I've done, I'll spend my time and effort somewhere else. They created the framework that allows me to monetize my work in the first place, so it's only fair that they get a cut. Suffice to say, 75% isn't fair. Basically, you should not be tacking paid mods onto existing games with established modding communities, especially when the mods are already free. The game has to be built from the ground up to support a marketplace where you can buy and sell mods. As a matter of fact, there is a game like this on the way. It will have paid mods, and this was announced last year. The new Unreal Tournament will be free to play, and Epic Games is planning to, quote, create a marketplace where developers, modders, artists, and gamers can give away, buy, and sell mods and content, end quote. In other words, the only way Epic can make a profit from this game is if they foster community growth and make it worth being involved in, not just for the modders, but for everyone. If I remember correctly, the general attitude towards the idea of Unreal Tournament's marketplace was positive. Of course, they weren't trying to shove it down the throats of an existing community, and they're not charging for the game itself. It just seems like something that can work, if it's executed properly. When you get to that point, another issue you'll have to contend with is copyright. I'm not talking about someone stealing your mod and selling it, though that is a valid issue with paid mods, and it can be dealt with as long as the functionality and the developer support is there. I'm talking about someone, for example, making a Pokemon mod and selling it. If you're making money off of mods, you now have more limitations because copyright law comes into play. If I simply make a 3D model of Pikachu and I use it as part of a Pokemon mod for a game, that's fine by itself. It's fair use of the Pokemon IP, or fair dealing if you're outside the US. Worst case scenario, I get a cease and desist order because the Pokemon mod is drawing sales and attention away from the official products. Most likely what's going to happen here is absolutely nothing. When I was an active WarCraft III modder, the community I was a part of tried their best to respect copyright material, giving credit to other people's work, avoid using commercial assets from other games, basically be respectful to other people's work, and everything was fine. But if I were to sell the 3D model of Pikachu or sell the Pokemon mod, even if I'm the one who made it, I'm still making money from someone else's intellectual property. I can no longer make the case for fair use, and not only am I open to a lawsuit, but also the developer for allowing it on their market. Usually, the easiest solution in this case is for the developer to remove my content, void all of the sales, ban me, and just avoid the expensive legal process altogether. These are the kinds of things you have to deal with when you cross the line between free to distribute free of charge and paid content. You can't just make a silly fun mod based on an existing IP if you're jumping through hoops. If you're making money, you have less freedom to do what you want. This means you can't sell Bleach vs Naruto custom games. It's not necessarily a bad thing. If you use your own original ideas, many of these limitations go away anyway, and you should try to use your own ideas instead of copying someone else, or at least give it a new twist. There is absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to make some money. That's how the video game industry grew, with people who wanted to make money with video games. Instead of trying to take a bigger slice of the pie for themselves, they should focus on making the pie bigger. Give people more opportunities to succeed in this space. Take a look around. People are paying their bills and feeding themselves doing things that did not exist 2 decades ago. There's absolutely nothing wrong with trying to find new ways to make money. Just don't shove it in places where it doesn't belong. Valve and Bethesda should have known from the start that it doesn't belong in Skyrim. It doesn't belong in any retail game that's already out there on the market. You can't add a paywall to software that's already been distributed for free. This includes mods. I think everyone's reaction to this is completely justified. We dealt with the problem and we put out the fire before it got out of control. The people at Valve and Bethesda have realized it with the overwhelming negative feedback they got, and it looks like they're backing off completely. But at the same time, I'm also hoping that people's attitude towards paid mods is directed towards their execution of it, rather than the idea itself. It doesn't work with every game, but I think it can work really well if the game and the business model is designed around it, and it caters to the community in a positive way. So let's open up the discussion here. What do you think of paid mods? Do you think it has a future? Like for the new Unreal Tournament, do you think it can work? Would you be willing to give it a chance if it's done right? Or are we already past the point where you never want to see a paid mod ever again? Whether you agree or disagree, this is an open discussion. Post a comment below, and thanks for watching.